Okay, then let's get started. Short disclaimer, my shipment is only 4 stations close to me, so I may have run to the door. Let's headphones, microphone. Okay, we'll give you feedback, Carsten. He has new headphones and a new microphone. So migration of the pipelines is more or less complete. So all pipelines are happily running. We basically have problems because some of the test environments are located in the US and Concourse is in Europe, and that could lead to some connection timeouts sometimes, not always. But apart from that, it's running fine. And so now the question, are we ready to delete the old pipelines from the release integration concourse? We don't hear you.
Yeah, I think we're feeling pretty good about it. I think we're feeling pretty good about it, right? Is there the only reason to keep it around if everything is running smoothly is history, I think. So as long as a pipeline has run enough times and got enough history, I think we're probably good to kill it.
Okay, so good. Then keep a little longer for history. Okay, that's fine. But it's just because our backlog item said the old pipelines should have been deleted. But okay, not yeah, so okay. It's really not urgent.
Yeah. We can also say we agree that we delete at end of the year or something like that. I mean, this doesn't really matter so much.
Yeah. Okay. Then this quite well-aged pull request with the Ginkgo version 2 CLI. Let me just check. I wrote down that we should discuss this, and we are just waiting. Docker image latest. Yeah, so is there still anything that would prevent us from merging this into CF deployment concourse tasks?
So for this one, Dave and I had previously said we were going to hold off to send a message to the CFDev mailing list, just because this changes the default for anyone who is using the container image, right? And not a lot of people use the container image, and not every project has moved to Ginkgo v2.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave and I just never got around to sending that email. That okay. was the only thing that was being waited for. If we want to say it's not worth sending the email, I'm okay with that too. Otherwise, I can try and prioritize sending that email today. So we
if it's a breaking change, yeah, we should do that. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. So then we wait for you to send the announcement to CFDev, and then if there is no feedback, or if everyone is okay, then I think we are ready to merge it, right? Yeah, okay, good. Pull request itself is trivial, yeah, but it may have effect on some, yeah. Okay, good, fine. Then we wait until the mail is out, and then we can proceed. Good. This is also a minor topic. The Uptimer tool had its last release 2 years ago, and I wondered if there is still if this release process is still used, or if you just use the latest version and do not release anything anymore. So I never pressed ship it. The develop branch has diverged a bit from the main branch. So this is not really an issue. I'm just really wondering if we still need this process or if we can. So main branch is 2 years old, but on develop, I think there are, it's also 2 years old.
Quick question, Johan. There are no tags. So what does a release mean? What did the ship it job actually do?
Right, there are no tags. I think the ship it job, I think it just merges to the main branch.
Oh, okay. So you can track main.
And the version from the main branch is used by then the other pipelines. So
okay.
Just speculating.
I must. Wait, there's also a stable branch. Excuse me. No, there is.
They may have called main stable.
Okay. So it looks to me like this is just merging develop to stable or main, and that's it.
Yeah. I think it's our call. Whatever flow we want to follow, we can probably do.
Yeah, I mean, there is anyway not much ongoing activity here. So yeah, okay, good. Yeah, updating Go with Go mod. This would be something. This is a merge directly. Yeah, but this is directly for the main branch. So okay, I mean, if there is no urgent need for a release process, then we can just work with PRs for the main branch, and then that's it. Use the latest version on main, and if that's good enough.
Yeah.
Before we start opening PRs to main, should we resolve the gap between develop and main? Like have past PRs
certainly,
been...
yes. I checked the difference and it was quite large, I think. Okay, good. Then this is a follow-up item. Merge develop to main. In future, just use PRs for main branch and no release process. Yeah, so if this is good enough for this helper tool, then we can try that way.
Sure. Might want to add an action item to delete the develop branch as well. Leaving it around might be confusing.
Develop branch later. Or when merged. Yes. Okay. Fine. Okay. Good. Then I noticed that someone, who is this, Maria Schaldebin, created a new .NET Core build pack test with quite an impressive amount of resources. So these are several megabytes of DLLs. And that caused this particular CATS acceptance test to fail because package uploading took too long. And then we got an gateway timeout from the ELB, so HTTP 504. And after an hour or so analyzing timeouts with one of our colleagues, who is very good with TCP and HTTP, keep alive and all that stuff, we increase the idle timeout of the load balancer and things are running again. So I think you approved this. And yeah, I just wanted to ask, is everyone aware of this problem? And can this test application somehow be reduced to a more manageable size?
I saw your comment. That was the first I was aware of the problem. Maybe we should make this an issue. Try and pull Maria back in to change it. If it's blocking stuff, we can absolutely roll it back as well now.
Yeah, it blocked us because the upload from the Europe concourse to the US Cloud Foundry Foundation took too long for this post request. So I had to increase the ELB idle time out. I don't know. I'm pretty sure someone else will also complain with a slow network connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I can make this an issue and then.
Out of curiosity, did this only appear in AWS or also in GCP?
It appeared, I think the test was only active in the experimental AWS environment. Yeah, so I think I only found the test there and not in our other environments.
But you wrote that you increased the timeout on an AWS load balancer.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It was the
experimental environment is the only AWS environment.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, the experimental is the Hermione is the only. Here it is. AWS environment. That's where this test runs. I don't know why it runs only there. It must have some other reason. But luckily, we had this something similar also for our performance tests. So yeah, it could be easily fixed.
I guess it's just surprising to me that this test only runs on AWS because I thought this was part of the detect suite, which should be pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that it's just that this test is only failing on the AWS environment? Or is it definitely only running there?
I checked, I think I checked the other tests, the other cats executions, and I think I did not find fresh cats, upgrade cats. Take a green one. .NET, there's just nothing.
It wouldn't print it out if it succeeded, right?
Okay.
It would, yeah. If you try searching for if you check the integration config instead and see if the detect suite is enabled, that might be an easier way to see if it's running or not.
Sorry, the what?
The include detect true.
Yeah, it is inside. Yeah, include detect.
Yeah. So it seems like it's just only failing on our AWS environment for some reason.
Okay, good. This could then be because, I don't know, GCP is either more performant or the load balancer has a different configuration in GCP.
I was mainly curious because this was like the PR was tested beforehand and that issue wasn't raised. So I was trying to see if this was where the gap was. It's another example of a AWS messing us up recently, huh? It's probably still worth raising the issue because if it's an issue with AWS, it probably is still hard on GCP, even if it's not breaking. Maybe we can find ways to reduce the file size.
Yeah. Okay, so my guess is the GCP load balancer has a longer idle time out or something. There are tons of articles on that topic. The AWS default timeout was 60 seconds, which was not enough. Good. Okay, fine. So then I will raise an issue on that, and then I hope we can reduce this somehow, because this is tons of DLLs. I don't know if this is really necessary for a
checking that into a Git project is also not a nice way.
Good. Okay. Yeah, now to the really important stuff. We are very close to releasing Jammy update. Oh, experimental deploy is finished. So I think we are now here. And if all these make it to the end, then tomorrow we could press on the ship it major button. And then we have Jammy in as a default.
Oh.
What? Oh. Yeah, and then I go.
Oh, wow.
And then I go on vacation next week and let you integrate that stuff into business technology platform. But we wanted to have a bionic stem cell validation pipeline. So basically the mirror thing to what you have created here. So we could basically take this here and switch it to Jammy and move it to our concourse.
Switch it to Bionic?
Right. To Bionic.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, like Dave has said in the past, we've historically not tracked old stem cells once we've updated. But I don't, there's no point. And if you want to do this, it's easy enough to do.
Yeah, we want to have a basic validation so that we can detect bionic problems.
This is to see them, because at the moment we are still on Bionic. Okay, that won't last long. As soon as the Jammy release is there, I think 4 weeks later we are on Jammy, unless there is a big issue on the big landscapes. But there are some activities here and there to have stem cell hardening, FIPS compliancy, etc. And all this still happens on Bionic. So just to understand if there are problems with Bionic is helpful, let's say. This doesn't mean that we have to fix everything or to fall into panic, but we should get aware of it, I think.
Cool. So this would be like there'd be a timeline set for keeping this pipeline around and getting rid of it. Once we have confidence in Jammy, we could theoretically.
Yeah, or let's say in April, May next year, if there's no Bionic stem cell updates anymore, then of course this can be, it doesn't make sense anymore. And those other activities, they need to come up with a plan then.
Cool. One thing with moving this pipeline over that I just noticed is we're going to have to either repurpose one of the existing environments that we have open source or make a new one for this pipeline as sort of a sub-step, because this is still, we were able to use our internal like Toolsmith's pools, because this is
Toolsmith. Okay.
Like a VMware concourse, but if we shift it over to the open source one, we can't do that.
Would that be a let's say test drive to set up a new environment on this community account? Can we also test already using the region? Maybe we should talk about which regions we use. Then it may take a little bit longer, but it's just to get this also rolling.
Sure, I think we've already done one environment move over to the community with Cedric. I think Aftab, Sven, Johan, and I collaborated on that. So hopefully it's straightforward to do the next one. But yeah, I think the only, even for a temporary environment, it would probably be nice to add it to the infrastructure CI so that we have an easy, consistent way to roll it up and roll it down if we need to.
You mean a set of jobs like for the other?
Exactly. And we could even use like stable Bellatrix and dev aren't currently in use. If we just update these credentials to actually work and have this be running, this could take the place of a temporary
Okay,
environment.
then we could Bionic Bellatrix. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect name.
Good. Okay. Yes. So moving the pipeline should be easy. I would check. We would then check it into. Yeah. What is this? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So we would. Yeah, rename this to Bionic Stem Cell, make the necessary adaptations, upload it to ours, pause it on the old one on yours, and make sure it works with the Bellatrix environment. And then we have our basic Bionic validation. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, it's a bit of work, but sounds like a plan. Good. Okay. So, yeah, those were the technical topics.
Maybe just
Yeah.
a question into the round. Let's assume tomorrow we have a CF deployment version 22 with Jemmy as a stem cell, and yeah, we announce it, and 1-2 weeks later somebody comes up with a major problem. Let's assume cloud controller doesn't work in large environments because memory consumption is bigger. That's not very, it may happen. I heard some rumors here because the Bosch team detected such issues. What do we do then? Do we roll back? Do we provide updates for the, yeah, on the CF deployment version 21 line? Do we say, bad luck, we now work or focus on fixing those issues, and until then there are no releases? Any ideas or proposals, or do you remember how that was handled in the past?
So I can say from a historical context how it was handled in the past. I don't know if you're gonna like it though. It was the CFD has been labeled not ready, not supposed to be supported for production environments, right? So historically, we've done significant testing on stem cells before we release to feel confident that it is working the way it should be working and can handle the load of a Cloud Foundry. But once we make that release, if it's not working for you, we're going to try and fix it. But in the meantime, you are either stuck on that version or you're rolling back, right? Obviously, in the event of there's a major CVE and we're like maybe a little further down, that's more of an all hands on deck type situation. But if the initial release is not working for some reason, it's sort of not liable.
I mean,
for that
practically, yeah, what we would then most likely do is we would still take this version 22, but apply the ops file that switches us back to Bionic, which will, in this case, probably solve the issue, and then we have to go from there and see how to continue. So I'm not that pessimistic, but it could happen, and I just wanted, yeah, to bring this on the table.
That sounds fine to me, right? Is there any further steps folks would want to take?
No, I don't know when there will come in the phase. First, let's say hard dependency on Jemmy. I don't know what happens when CF Linux FS4 comes out. Don't know. In theory, it should also work on Bionic, but in practice, we will see. Yeah. So let's move on. Be optimistic. And if issues occur, yeah, we have to talk about it and solve them.
Okay. Good. So this is certainly enough input for the next weeks to get all this aligned. And yeah, but nevertheless, when we have the Jammy release, this is really a major milestone and worth celebrating. So someone from the working group will bake the next cake. And of course, the ones on the conference can celebrate there.
Yeah, you have it better. That's true.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Okay, any other questions, remarks? Yes?
Yeah, I have one. Before I go into it though, the cake looked pretty sweet. I'm jealous that I couldn't try some of that. While we were scrolling over the release integration CI, I saw one pipeline that I'd sort of forgotten about. If you want to navigate back there and find timeout scales.
Timeout scales. Yeah, I clicked on that one, but then
Yeah.
Ooh.
This one is interesting. We may want to not delete this for a little while, but it hasn't been a problem recently, so we might be good. The history of this one was that when David Stevenson changed all of the what was it, the VM sizes in Bosch deployment, and then that got moved to Bubble, that broke most cats runs because the base level Bubble deployment was too underpowered to successfully run cats with the default configurations. The immediate solution to that was an ops file, which I think is in CF deployment operations test, that increases the size of I think it increases the number of VMs and the size of certain VMs to make the Bubble or the CFD pass cats. And I think we've applied that in all of our environments. So this stopped being an issue. But theoretically, that was supposed to be a stopgap. And we would go and look at cats and try and make it pass on the default CFD. And the way that we were going to solve that was that if we change the timeout scale of cats, which is an input to the integration config, it would actually pass even with the weaker configuration, because the thing that was slower that was causing cats to fail was that apps weren't deploying quickly enough for the most part. So if you increase the timeout scale to wait after a CF push or other certain CF actions, it would be fine. It'd be a little slower, but it would be fine. And so Dave and I set up this pipeline to try and discover the optimal timeout scale to set, along with the number of nodes that we could run each timeout scale with, right? Because we've been recommending 12 for a full CFD environment for some time now, but no one's actually validated that 12 is the optimal number in a while. So we've been running it with, if you were to zoom out on this pane, this represents timeout scale of 1.1x, what it was set to previously, and it runs it with increasing node values of 1 through 15. So it theoretically, with this whole graph, if you were to select multiple scale 1.1, scale 1.2 with like shift, you'd see kind of the full layout of how cats is passing with different timeout scales and different node values, where run cats 1.19 means timeout scale of 1.1, what it was previously, and 9 nodes. And that would get us to a recommendation that we could then backtrack and go into cats and actually just change each default, each timeout value that the timeout scale would apply to, and just increase that by whatever optimal number we arrived upon. And then we could also change the recommendation for nodes if that changed. That we've sort of forgotten about it because everything's just been working. But if we ever want to take out that ops file that I think is being applied to all of our CFD environments to increase its size from the base, we will probably want to go back and have a look at this.
Okay, which ops file do you mean?
I think it's in, what file is this? Or what folder is this?
This is the main folder. Then we have test.
I think it's scale to 1 AZ add-on parallel cats. So it just, yeah. I'm pretty sure we apply this in a lot of places. And that was how we fixed the problem. Either that or we had manually increased the timeout scale to 2 on several of the cats jobs themselves in the CFD pipeline. But yeah, I just want to call this out because that could be conceived as a stopgap measure relative to actually going back and changing the values in cats to work with the default CFD. One caveat to this graph is it's probably not relevant anymore because it claims toolsmiths environments, which all apply that same ops file. So it's not actually testing what we want it to be testing. And I'm not confident when that was introduced, so I'm not sure how many of the runs actually ran with the older environments.
Which environments are those?
Latest CFDs each time.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
One interesting finding was that it was kind of consistently passing past 12 nodes and being faster than having 12 nodes, which was pretty cool. Now there's some red in it, but previously some of the scale values were consistently passing and speeding up some of the CF deployment cats times by a decent number.
Okay, so you determined that, yeah, somehow 9 or 10 is the maximum nodes for successful execution. Yeah. Well, okay, so this is, yeah, for finding the maximum node timeout combination for success. Yeah, sorry. Back in a minute.
Package. Yeah, no specific action item on this. I just wanted to call it out in case this graph gets deleted. Like maybe we want to save this for a little bit.
This number of nodes, that means for parallel execution of the cats tests. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, and I guess Johan's just dipped, but yeah, if the idea of running it in the graph style like this was we could click on each run to see how long they have ran. So we could get an idea of like where the point of slowdown from parallel execution was happening. And I think we saw that it was happening around 14. If you click into some of these 13s, they were running, I think if you click into like 1.5 13,
yes,
it was running at 30 minutes, which was faster, slightly faster than 1.5 12, if I remember right.
30. Oh. 1.5 12.
No, it's about the same.
It's
one of the, yeah, but some of these lines, there was actually, you could gain or lose 2 minutes by just going up from 12 to 13, which is interesting.
And the fastest 29.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an upper limit somewhere. Okay.
I think the lowest value I saw was 27 or 28. Which, I don't know, considering our current cat takes in CFD takes 30 minutes. So it's not like a huge improvement.
Yeah.
I guess experimental takes closer to 40. I don't know how many test suites we're running. But the main purpose was to try and figure out a timeout scale that we could move back into CFD cats so that we could get rid of that ops file and decrease the size of our deployments. And it's not something we need to go and do. I think it's probably fine. But if we ever delete that ops file and start wondering why our pipeline is failing,
Yeah.
scales.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think it's a nice thing that we run our tests with a standard configuration that we also, we'll see on a, let's say, on a naive CFD deployment user. That makes somehow sense.
Yeah. So
even if
yeah,
it
if we
means
want
a
to get
little
to
bit
that,
longer. Yeah.
we could either move the scale up into the main CFD, like change that ops file to be the default essentially, or go back to cats and change the timeout scale default to be something else.
So, just
check. Scan to run. Yeah. I think.
So this is the cats for the experimental environment. And we have, is this relevant now? For, let's check.
Not sure. I'm not actually sure if we're using it in our CF deployment stuff. We may have put it straight into our relent ends, or alternatively, we bumped up the timeout scale. I can't recall anymore. It was a little while ago.
So, and here we have, sorry, yeah, I know there were some, yeah. No, the timeout scale. Okay, here it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we bumped most of our timeout scales to 2, I think.
Good. And those credentials are actually, they were not really valid anymore, right? Are they the CF API, CF admin, they do not work. So this is more kind of placeholder.
Yeah, they did at one point work, but they each run since it gets torn down. Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna lose it. But the integration config carries over. It's just the username, password, and API that are updated each run. Anyway, there's a big deviation that may not make a lot of sense, but the point is we're doing a little bit of magic to make cats work on our default environments. And either the magic is through an ops file or by increasing the timeout scales. And if we want to get back to running cats on the default environment, we probably want to either backport the timeout scale to CFD proper as the default, or bump up the size of our VMs in CF deployment by default.
Yeah, well, okay, as Stefan mentioned, it would be nice if cats would pass with the default VM sizes and suitable timeout scale. Good. So,
I mean,
okay,
if the timeout scale 1.5, let's say, is needed and it doesn't increase the cats runtime too much, then it's maybe better to keep the small VMs because it makes CF deployment cheaper, or we can deploy it on a smaller size. And then is the question, how long do our pipelines run, and is that acceptable?
Yeah, I think that the timeout scale should be up. should be like the max timeout. I haven't validated this, but hopefully it would only increasing the timeout scale by 2, for example, would have the same, hopefully the same effect as increasing it by 1.5, because it just increases the max time that we'll wait for something to complete. But I haven't validated that. And again, if it slows everything down too much because it's just taking forever for our pipelines to run, then we may want to just speed up our default.
Then we spend a bit more money on CFD deployment. Yeah, I guess we need to try it out, maybe using this pipeline here.
Good. Okay. So then we also migrate this pipeline, and then we can use it for fine tuning. I mean, it's not our most urgent problem. First, I think we should try to move all the test environments into the same region as the concourse runs. This should solve most of the problems we see at the moment. But okay, good. Then we will also migrate the timeout scales. Good. Yeah. Then anything else? Yes.
Yeah, maybe one quick topic we could talk about. Jochen, can you open the PR I sent you earlier? So I changed the one with the UAA stuff in CF deployment. So what I changed is basically I changed the UAA scopes to be a YAML list instead of a string. The first one. It's basically needed for this cloud controller v2 API rate limiting. So the scopes are no longer a string, they're a list, and with a list it can be easily manipulated in an ops file, because if it's a string, then yeah, it's a bit cumbersome to make any modifications. And if you scroll down, if you go back to the comments in the PR, there's one problem I've just encountered in the end. My last comment. So the problem is that in the UAA YAML definition, it prefers scopes over scope. So if someone has an ops file changing the scope variable, and we now would switch it now over to scopes, then basically scopes would win over the old scope field. So it's a bit of a breaking change, I would say. I mean, it's good if we release Gemini out and we could just ship it with that as well. Yeah, it's just, I guess it's fine. I mean, I hope not too many people are doing that, but I guess we should mention that in the release notes. Yeah, but I don't know. The question is basically, how were such things handled in the past, and yeah, how should such things be released?
I think in the past, if there was an incompatible change in the, let's say, manifest configuration, then it required a new major version, which we are going to cut. And yeah, it was announced in the release notes, I think. So it would be the right time to introduce that.
Yeah, I think it's not a problem in CF deployment, because I think they're only ops files which add new clients, and then it doesn't matter. Then you can use either way. But for example, with an SAP, we have ops files which make some modifications. Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, Carsten already approved it, so it's just one press away.
I think if we mention it in the release notes, then
would be fine. Just a question: do we pack this into the next release, or do you want to have it released now with the upcoming major version? Or
I
can
mean,
this?
it's not that urgent, I guess. I mean, we basically need it when we want to roll out this. But I mean, yeah, it's basically just so it fits then with the documentation. I mean, the feature's already there in the car pre-release, so it could be also rolled out later in safe deployment.
Yeah. Okay.
But then you would need another major release, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Jochen's concern is if we want to include that one, it means another round of running through the pipelines, right?
Yeah, anyway, we always, for every job that, every commit that is pushed onto the develop branch, because a new pipeline commit, and you have to wait until all these jobs are green, and then arrive at Bless Manifest, and then you're ready for the next release. This is how it works, yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, maybe, I think we should now be ready. So I think the Jammy stuff is now through, if I'm not wrong. And then we cut a release from that, and then your PR, when we merge it tomorrow, it would anyway take a day or so until it is through the pipeline. Yeah. Okay, good. But yes, of course, this is we of course have to explain in detail in the release section what the breaking change is and what people have to do. Yeah. Okay, so where's the link now again? Good. Go away. So, good. Okay. Anything else? I think it's quite enough for today. Good. I will summarize everything in the meeting minutes tomorrow and create some nice backlog items. And yeah, until then, everyone have a nice evening or a nice day. And Carson, see you soon on the Cloud Foundry Day.
Yeah, excited for that.
Great. Okay. Until next time.
Good.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Ciao.
You, ciao.